Let me ask you a question. When you think about New York City, what's the first thing that comes to mind? The Statue of Liberty? Times Square? Or is it the Twin Towers? Those massive, soaring icons that once graced the skyline of Manhattan. But what if I told you that the Twin Towers' rise to fame was almost as controversial as their tragic fall? And what's left of them now, almost 2 decades later? Stick around, because the story of the World Trade Center is more than just a tale of steel and glass. It's a story of dreams, power, destruction, and a city's resilience. Welcome to History Decoded, the place where we uncover the fascinating stories of the past. Before we dive in, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any of our deep dives into history's most iconic moments. Today, we're taking a closer look at the World Trade Center, those towering symbols of New York City that still haunt the skyline, even though they're no longer there. But here's the thing, as much as we associate them with that devastating day in 2001, the story of the Twin Towers actually goes way back. From their controversial beginnings to their triumphs and finally to their tragic end. The World Trade Center was a complex part of the city's history. And now, after years of rebuilding, it's time we ask, what's left of the World Trade Center today? And is it the same as the iconic Twin Towers we remember? Let's rewind the clock to the early 1960s. What do we have? A tangled mess of industry, crumbling warehouses, and a city that needed a serious makeover. Enter David Rockefeller, the man with the dream to transform downtown Manhattan. The idea? To create an international symbol of commerce, a space where the world could come together to trade. Sounds great, right? But here's the kicker. It came at the expense of a whole neighborhood. Radio Row, once a bustling area of electronics stores, was completely bulldozed to make way for these monumental towers. I mean, who cares about small businesses, right? We're building skyscrapers here. But seriously, was this the right move? On one hand, it brought the city a new identity and global attention. On the other hand, it wiped out a historic district. Was it worth it? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. By the 1970s, the plans were set in stone. The World Trade Center was going to be tall, really tall. These towers were designed to dominate the skyline. At 110 stories each, they were set to steal the title from the Empire State Building as the tallest buildings in the world. But here's a fun fact. The towers were built on landfill. Yeah, you heard that right, landfill. So what did that mean for the foundation? It meant digging all the way 70 feet below street level to reach bedrock. But hold up, the construction wasn't all sunshine and rainbows. Would you trust a building built on landfill? Sure, it had innovative designs, like the hollow tube structure that made it flexible and wind-resistant. But let's be honest, were these design choices made for the right reasons, or were they just trying to make the towers as flashy as possible? When the World Trade Center finally opened, it was more than just a building. It was a global powerhouse. Offices, banks, media companies, everyone wanted in. These towers were symbols of success, housing over 500,000 people on any given day. And let's not forget the public attractions, like the top of the World Observation Deck and windows on the world, the restaurant at the top. Can you imagine dining with a view of the city from the 106th floor? But for all the glam and glory, the Twin Towers were also no strangers to controversy. With the 1993 bombing still fresh in people's minds, it's hard to ignore the dark side of their legacy. The towers weren't just symbols of economic power, they were targets. So was the World Trade Center really the beacon of peace it was meant to be? Or was it a giant symbol begging for disaster to strike? And then came September 11th, 2001. The Twin Towers, those towering symbols of American power, came crashing down in one of the most devastating events in world history. The tragic images of the planes hitting the towers and the buildings collapsing are seared into our memories. But here's a question that still lingers. Could the World Trade Center have been rebuilt sooner? Sure, we eventually got the Freedom Tower, but should the towers have been preserved? Or was the destruction of the towers the moment we needed to completely rebuild and start fresh? Fast forward to today. The Freedom Tower stands tall, but it's hard not to notice that it just doesn't feel the same as the original towers. Sure, it's modern and sleek, but is it iconic? It's a symbol of resilience, but is it really a true replacement for what we lost? The other new buildings at the site, like the Oculus Transportation Hub, are stunning. But where's the nostalgia for the towers? Here's the big question. Should we hold on to the past and try to recreate the past glory? Or is it better to move on and create something new? Let me know what you think. What's your take on the World Trade Center's legacy? Are we honoring its memory properly, or have we lost something in the rebuilding process? Drop your thoughts below in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe to History Decoded for more deep dives into the past.